Hello and welcome to today's videos. We cover first stand grand finals as well as some more international thoughts. Tomorrow I probably will do a first stand all pros based on stats. Looking at maybe Tuesday a power rankings where we use this here. This is how it's looking right now, and we go from there. But another thing, when does the LPL start? I don't know. So we see CBLOL LEC starting up this weekend. With that in mind, there's going to be preview videos for spring for that. Wednesday, Thursday, and I mean, it depends when LPL is beginning. I don't know when they're starting. LCK starts the week after, as does LCP and LCS. So, first, recap. BLG beat G2 3-1. G2 were slightly better in this series than they were in the first one, not only winning a game, but also in control for 4% more of the minutes. That's great, a 75-25 split, which results in 6th out of 13 matches in terms of competitiveness. At first stand, the other one, BLG G2, the first iteration, 79% in BLG's favor. I will say I predicted G2 to win. G2 lost, got lost in the sauce, predicting G2. But it is a good thing that the team that got knocked into loser's bracket did not win a tournament. I fucking hate that. I think it is bullshit when a team wins from the loser bracket against a winning bracket team, because a winner bracket team does not get an opportunity to lose, and I really, really do not like double elim without a reset. That's like the 100th time I've talked about it in a video. So, BLG win 3-1. Viper, 2 solo 2v2 kills, 15-8-26, team leading 27% of damage on 79 KP, and also had a 2v2 kill of his own. I did say going into this, and mentioned it in my prediction video, the bot lane duos were going to be the matchup here. We saw Hans and Lebrav do very well into Gen G's bot lane. And then we see that BLG's really struggled into JDG. And it became a thing of like, well, what's going to happen here? Because BLG's bot lane just struggled, G2's bot lane overperformed. Where is the middle ground here? And it ends up being with BLG ahead. And being the vocal point of the team in terms of damage and kill participation. That's not to say Sean obviously wasn't active. Bin was a huge contributor in this series as well. Caps had 2 solo kills of his own. 18-8-21, 27% of damage. It felt like him and Skuman kind of just dragging the team along at some points. Skuman had 2 solo kills of his own as well, 77 KP. Drake's 11-7 for BLG. They took all 5 Barons, only averaging a 1,166 gold power play per Baron. Barons 1, 3, and 5, very good. Barons 2 and 3, coming out of Game 3, BLG actually had a negative total Baron power play. It was like negative 400 or some shit. Really struggling in games 2 and 3 to close them out with the Baron. Of course, they do close it out just outright without it. Well, actually, no. Was it game 1? There might have been, no. One of the games they had 2 Barons. Might have been game 1 and they lost. Which game it was? It had 2 Barons. But regardless, Baron 2 and 3, negative. It might have been Game 1, second Baron, and then Game 2's Baron that BLG had. Gold, 75-25 for BLG. When you take into account Drake value, BLG are ahead for the majority of this series by quite a bit. Game 4 actually in G2's favor for a large portion of it, not only in terms of gold, but we did see it with Drake's included as well. We think about how that game ended, and BLG just kind of found a team fight, and they were like, hey, let's fucking end. It's game 4. We're up 2-1. We really got them on their heels. G2 obviously came out swinging. Game 1, they were very strong, and it felt like, shit, BLG might not have it. But part of me thinking about it, when we think back to the series, BLG, maybe they underestimated G2. Maybe they were like, hey, we beat them 3-0, underestimated them. And then over the entirety of the rest of the series, they kind of showed up in a much more respectable manner, if you will. Not to say G2 did not outright win. They did win game 1 and did give BLG quite a handful of problems as well along the rest of the series. But BLG, I feel like game 1 was definitely very different than the next 3 games in terms of their play. Bin and Shun, like I said, both had solo kills. Top lane, averaging a 1,000 gold lead. Bin very strong in that matchup. Understandably so. BB's been placed on tanks for a reason. I feel like at a certain point, they kind of pushed that, if you will. Like, I really didn't like some of the picks today for him. I feel like they could have found other more useful picks. Understand BLG did take the Shen and threw it in support and won with it. And that game 2 draft for BLG was fun because I looked at it and I said, there's like 3 different champions here on could play. Pantheon, Pantheon, Galio, and Shen. And I said to myself, like, he could play any of these 3. And I love the meta right now that allows for a lot of shit to happen around the Rift, global ultimates, etc. It forces teams to make plays, take advantage of your timers. Those that do are going to succeed and find mismatches, and I really do enjoy this meta in particular. Hans Sama had 3 2v2 kills of his own. A lot of that happening towards the end of the game, but technically, based on my metric that probably needs to be adjusted, he had 3. Viper on average about 700 gold lead. Give credit to Caps into Night. Outside of game 3, he was ahead each and every other game. Averaging a 340 gold lead into one of the best mids in the world. Caps is world class. Obviously, he's one of the best mids of all time. I would not put him, people want to put him top 3 players of all time. I understand he's going to get a Hall of Legends skin probably, and that's, also a marketing arm of Riot. So, I'm going to acknowledge that, but Xiaohu, obviously, I'd have over Caps all time. But Caps is, of course, top 3 mids of all time, behind Faker and Xiaohu. But regardless, so we do the math here. 33 more goals, so 1063. I mean, about an 1,800 gold lead at the time the first turret fell, which isn't massive. Many people would think BLG dominated this series. I really think the 75-25 split is very much about how long it took BLG to win. Game 2, I think, was the 40-minute game in particular, really skewing that stat. We see over here, like, it was third and 6th most dominant series out of BLG. Their wins very dominant outside of the JDG one. JDG, looking back at this event, is funny because 3 of their 4 series we see down here as being very competitive. Even in their win against Lion, actually being behind for the majority of the game, but when they played loud, they completely outclassed them. Now, here in the middle, I'm going to talk a little bit about my hierarchy of the teams, because I considered, and I put it out yesterday, I was considering moving LEC into the LCK LPL side of the power rankings if they won. G2 obviously didn't win, so I probably won't do it. But we look here, and I'm showing the progression here. We see there's only, the way I determine this, there's only so many amount of points for international play based on how you finish, in my personal opinion. And including this, Worlds obviously is worth more than MSI and First Stand. You could argue when we look at 2025, this one is a big deal because this includes First Stand. When First starts just giving a little bit of First Stand, no, this one includes First Stand. MSI, Worlds, First Stand. This one includes First Stand. So, First Stand being involved, you have a situation where, okay, we have an additional tournament in the first stage of 2025. So, first, 2024. Going into 25, MSI Worlds. LCK, LPL at the top. Then it's LCS, LCP. We're thinking about FlyQuest coming off of their great 2024. Going to Worlds quarterfinals, etc. LCP, LEC, and NC below. Now, it kind of stays this way, even with CFO's success, and that's because the amount of teams that went to these international events from these regions. If you're going to send multiple teams, it's going to affect these numbers. I got to just pretend like the other teams don't exist. I mean, you could say, oh, well, that's the wrong way to do it. I mean, I think having a one-team region, pretending like one-team region should determine this is bullshit. I do not like that. I understand some regions sent one team to some events, but I really don't like. I don't really like that. So, 2024, we see LCK, LPL. Then the other four, pretty close. Here, remains the same. We see LCK starting to spread out. We see them after MSI. We see them after Worlds. You know, the gap is spreading. LPL struggling at times last year at Worlds as well. But things kind of get closer again with LCK struggles at this event because not only did they not finish first or second, but they finished third and fourth and fifth. So that hurt them. LEC obviously boosting up due to Worlds. That's Worlds 2025 right there. Worlds 2025 thrusted the LEC from here to there because of G2's success as well as LCS falling off. LCP mixed bag. They still remain just about where they were. Their top team is usually a borderline top 8 team at Worlds. And then we look and we say CBLOL is at the bottom. CBLOL are just kind of hanging out. They dropped off a bit at Worlds last year. After Worlds last year and at this event, obviously, dropping off some more. America's Cup does not count on this because it's not part of the circuit that people actually, you know, Worlds is Worlds. Like, we're not going to do for fun Rift Rivals and include it in here. Glorified Scrims, you know, America's Cup, Esports World Cup, whatever the fuck that LCK LPL challenge tournament was last year, not included in there either. And this is always tweaked. Actually, I did tweak this morning. Like how I even determined this, I've tweaked. Like I had a different format that you saw in the last power ranking. So this is a little different. It was a little different. And honestly, you can say Worlds is all that matters. Then don't watch anything else. I don't know why you're watching other shit if it doesn't matter. So, yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.